computer. All right. Welcome to week 7. We're halfway through the semester. It's crazy to think we're halfway through the semester, but indeed we are. There was a question that Bob had asked about this really weird query that you had to write. And let me find the. I'm not going to share the screens, but I'm going to find exactly what he had said because it's a weird query. And generally speaking, I just send you the answer, which I've got to do, which I haven't done yet. And I apologize for that. It's a really weird. I think it's maybe. Oh, this is one where you're joining the table to itself, looking for an address. Yeah, so it is this week. Oh yeah, so the thing I was gonna. Yeah, so the code that you wrote, Bob, I think is correct. But I have to go and look because I hate this question a lot. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and in the notes for the video, I'll just put the right answer there, and then just go from that. You'll understand.
Thank you.
A lot of the queries that we deal with here, I just give you the code to answer because reverse engineering is a valid way of doing things.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we're in week 7 here. That was the one question I wanted to address. Other people have asked questions, but they're not. Some people have noticed that I notoriously, when I'm grading, will skip. I'll give you comments, but I'll forget to grade your paper. So there's okay. So let me share my screen, and we'll talk about the code for this week. Share screen. Boom. Okay, here we are. Am I recording right? I am recording. Yay. And I want this. Cool. Okay. So today for the code that we're going to, well, first of all, any questions on the assignment so far, the week so far, anything going on that you're not understanding, need some clarification on? Everyone going good?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay.
Yep.
I noticed that we've gotten down from our normal 10 to 4 people today, so hopefully people will be late. But it's been, I mean, the attrition rate has been pretty low in this class. Usually by this time I started with 10 and like every week I like lose 1 or 2 to where I'm at 3 or 4 by the end of the semester. But we've had a consistent like 9-10 people. I feel like I'm in my sacrament meeting now. Okay, so we're gonna talk about 2 things today. We're gonna talk about joining to multiple tables, not just 2. We're gonna talk about the roll-up command, and we're gonna talk about case. Now, case is not dealt with until week 9, is what I think is what's going on. So we're gonna talk about it now. And like I said, so this week's last week, we're gonna go over code, unless there's some specific questions you guys have. Next week, the week after, up until week 11, we'll have Wednesday nights, and it'll be strictly talking about projects, talking about ERDs, kind of workshopping those. And then after week 11, it's just one-on-one meetings. Because at that point in time, we've covered all the code. There's nothing new to discuss. And the last 3 chapters are things that there's indexes, which I'll give you guys a video for that I recorded a long time ago. And then we talk about views and things like that. So there's really no reason to have the Wednesday night meetings. And that's the way it's really worked in the past. If it turns out people want them and come and just talk about things, maybe do some more workshopping, I'm cool with that. So we'll kind of play it as we go along. Okay. So joining multiple tables. So here I've got this query. I'm using the Sakilla database. I'm selecting title, amount, and then this date function is going to allow me. So whenever you put something that's a date time column into a database, it gives you the date and the time. By using the date keyword here, it just pulls the date out so you don't have to see the time. There's also a time keyword. There's also a month keyword that you can play with. I'm pulling it from film. I'm joining inventory on film ID. And I'm joining that on rental on inventory ID. And I'm joining that on payment on rental ID. Because I want to know how much was paid for a title and what date it was paid, right? I don't have that information. That information exists in the payment table, right? So I've got to find a way to get to the payment table from the film table. And the only way I can do that is if I look here, okay? I've got my film table. If I look over here, my film table has film ID and all this other stuff in it, right? And then I look in my payment table. This is kind of like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You got to figure out which way to go with this. In my column table, I've got payment, I got customer ID, I've got rental ID. Okay. Customer ID is not going to take me back to film. Rental ID might. So let me look at rental table. And that's down here. There's rental ID, and under there's inventory ID. So if I go to the inventory table, I've got inventory ID, but I've also got film ID. So there's my connection. I go from payment to inventory to rental to film. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking the title, I'm taking the amount from payment, the date it was from the rental date, right? And notice I'm using the inventory table, but I'm not reporting anything from it. I don't have to. It's just a way to get it there. And I'm sorting it by the date of the rental date. So if I run this, I know that Blanket Beverly was rented for $299 on this date. Freaky Pocus there, so I got all this, right? Now if I wanted to, let me do some stuff on the fly here just for fun. I'm gonna add c.customer to this. But that's not what I want. I want to go to the customer table. I want last name. I'll do this. I'll do c dot last name. Comma, okay. And then I'm going to join this. Let me go ahead and join this here. Yeah, I'll do it here. Enter join. No, I'll do it after the rental. Do it here. Enter join customer C on C dot equals R dot. Now let me just make sure under my rental table that there's customer ID. So as on payment, so rental table. Yep, there's customer ID right there. So now when I run this, I should get the last name of the customer who did it. There you go. Okay.
I have a question. There's a lot of examples in this course that all the like maybe you'd call them functions are capitalized. Do they? But looking at this, obviously they don't have to be capitalized. Like select from and enter join.
Yeah.
So does it just not matter? Is it not case sensitive or what?
So depending on the platform you're using,
Okay.
or if it's turned on to be case sensitive, generally speaking, it's not. Most coders, when they're paying attention and not doing things in a hurry, like me in this case, will capitalize the clauses.
Okay.
It's not really necessary, and they do it because I think they did this back in the days when you were doing things through the CLI, and it didn't change colors, so the keywords didn't change colors. So that just kind of so they did that because when they were coding, they wanted to see what the clauses were versus anything else. So now that we're in a world where we've got GUIs that these change colors, it's not necessary. Etiquetely speaking, people like that, but
Okay.
it's not required.
Right. Cool.
Do you know if there's like a way to like change it? Because you know there's like the autofill like section where you
Mhm.
can like autofill, like if you're typing in like select a whole bunch of times, you can just press tab and it'll fill out the rest of select.
Yep.
Is there a way to set that to where it's like all caps so that way if you're doing it in different, you know, different places, it will run the same?
I don't know the answer. I've never dug that deep into
Okay.
the workbenches. I don't know the answer to that question.
I figured I might as well just ask.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the answer. I mean, Google that sucker and see if we find the answer to it. So when I was coding for my profession, I had the habit of like doing all the caps and everything else not in caps. And when I started coding with SQL 2000, there wasn't instafill. So I got used to just doing everything myself. So I don't know the answer to that question. It's an interesting question. I don't know
I
if you
think
can
I
do it.
might have just figured it out. One second,
cool.
let me select. No, but if you go to edit, you can do format and then uppercase keywords,
Okay.
and that will just do it. So every time you want to uppercase all the keywords, you can just click that, but it doesn't change the filling in part,
See something. So let's see
the
here.
autofill.
I'll go here, autocomplete. That may just turn it off. That didn't change anything. Let's see. Where'd you say that was?
So in format,
Okay.
if you don't have anything uppercased, yeah, go ahead and click uppercase
Okay.
keywords,
There you go.
and it will do a lot of them. It doesn't do all of them, but
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, that's there's probably a way to do it, like if you go back into the back, like sneak into the back end of the code, make changes there. But there's cheats like that all the place. But that's a good question about that. Okay. So everyone see so multiple. So you can do as many joins as you really. It gets really clumsy after a while. With the joins, because if you put them in the wrong order, or something else goes on, the data might be wrong. What's sent back is wrong. I don't have an example of that, but I've had situations where I put the joins in the wrong order, and the depending on the order you put it in is how the results come back. So just be aware of that. Here I've got one. Okay. I've got select title and then count of the rental date. How many times is rented and the total amount of the rentals. So I've got the title of the movie, how many times it's been rented, and the total amount of all those rentals. I'm joining film, inventory, rental, and payment, and I'm grouping by title because this is the only column that is not in the aggregate. Make sense? So when I run it, I get these results here. I get Beverly Blanket. Beverly's been 12 times, only $48. So on and so forth. Apparently, Whale Bikini is a top rental. Pelican Comforts is a top. I gotta get the description of the one. Apache Divine, Closer Bang. So I've got this rollup command. So let me show you what it does, and then I'll explain it to you. Go all the way to the bottom here. So it pretty much just gives me a total of this column and a total of that column. That's all it does. In accounting, I'm sure that's important. What is it? In Microsoft SQL Server and in Oracle, there's another command called with cube. And that cubes the data, which means it breaks it down even more. Based on what you're trying to do with it. But that's what the rollup does. Now the trick is, so let me show you this. So I want to run this. Okay. And this is my total here, right? So now the one command we haven't talked about as far as group by, or the rather aggregates, is how do I limit what I'm seeing? Where do I put my where clause? I can't put a where clause on an aggregate column. That doesn't work. I have to use a having clause, and it comes after the group by. So here I've got select the same query I had here. I've got select date, count, and sum from film, blah, blah, blah. Group by, I have it with rollup, and I have having sum greater than 1500. Okay. So it's only going to show me the rows that is more than 1500. Okay. So nothing less than 1500, but notice that those numbers are still the same. So I don't know if that's a undocumented feature of MySQL, but it gives you the roll-up of the entire thing, but doesn't include the halving clause. I'm not sure why it does that. It just does. It's just a choice that it makes. Everyone kind of get that? Simple stuff. It's nothing new. We're just adding the column to the halving clause to it. Everyone good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I found the solution to that
Oh, what is it?
autofill thing. I'll go ahead
Sure.
and set that in the chat.
Oh, cool.
Basically, you go to edit, then to preferences, to query editor, and then check the box that says use uppercase keywords on completion.
Edit preferences.
Query editor.
Query editor.
And
Oh,
then
okay.
check that box.
Cool.
And that worked for me at least.
Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Sweet. Thank you. I'm going to keep that turned on now because I prefer that.
Yeah, no problem.
Good job. Okay, thanks. Okay, so now case statements. Case statements are super useful. So sometimes when we are presenting data to the customer, we don't want them to we don't show them the real data. We want to show them what we want them to see, right? For example, a great example would be if we had a database that had employees' birthdays in it, right? Or yeah, we had employees' birthday. Let's do that. Let's say I own a staffing agency, and I am sending people out to be interviewed for full-time positions, right? And in my intake information, I get their birthday, right? Because I like to send everyone a birthday card on their birthday, right? It's just PII data I get in from them, but I want to share information out with employers, but I can't share out their birthday. But one employer needs to know that they're over 18, or let's say one employer needs to know that they're over 25, right? So I can do one of a couple things. I can use a case statement to look at their birthday and say over 25. And just that will be what they see. Or I can show their age. So here's just a simple way of looking at it. So here I'm selecting title and I'm selecting rating, right? And then I have a case statement. When rating equals R, I'm going to return the value not kids. When the rating is G, PG, or PG-13, I'm going to return the rating kids. And anything else, I'm returning the rating no one. Okay, so what this is going to return, it's going to be called the audience column. So here we're going to have the column title, the column rating, and then we're going to have the audience column. So when I run this, I see this. Okay, because what I can do is, and this is how I want to show the data. This is what I want to actually see. Okay, so a lot of what we do is when we're writing the code to put out into the world, we are manipulating the data in such a way that it is visible to the customer the way we want them to see it, not with the raw data, because the raw data probably is confusing to them. The raw data might take them in a direction that we don't want them to go in. We want to protect things. We want to protect PII information. You know, PII is personal identifying information, right? So we want to protect PII. We want to protect HIPAA stuff. We want to protect all these things. So what we do is we put filters into our select statements that not only limit the columns that are returned, but it modifies the values of what are actually seen. Does that make sense? So this case statement can be used in any number of capacities. And it's there to show customers data as we, the owners of the data, want them to see it. Let's look at this next case statement here. Okay, this is so here, and y'all know what pivot tables are? Anyone here not know what a pivot table is? Okay.
I
do.
don't know that.
Okay, so a pivot table is I'll show you what these do, and I'll show you what a pivot table is when you can take the data and switch it around. So instead of having, I'll just show it to you. So you just switch it around. So let's look at this one. Look at this one here. So I got this query. I'm selecting name and I'm selecting the count of language from film, and I'm joining language, right? So this is the results. I've got English 681, Italian 173. So what if I wanted to show a table where English, Italian, and Japanese were the column names, and the first row was the count, right? Now, in more robust and interesting applications like Microsoft SQL Server and Oracle, there's a command called pivot that just pivots this out, right? But there's a brute force way to do this. And it's using case statements. And I show this one because it's a really interesting use of case statement. So here, I've got select, and then I've got a sum clause. Case when language equals 1, then 1, else 0, end. So this is going to go through every row, and if there's a value of 1, if the value is 1, then it's going to return the value 1, or it's going to return the value 0, and then it's going to sum that up and put it in a column called English. It's going to do the same thing here. If language ID is 2, it's going to assign the value 1, else it's 0. It's going to sum it up and put it under Italian, and it's going to do the same thing through here. If the language is Japanese, is 3, it's going to sum it. It's going to add 1. If not, it's going to 0, and it's going to sum it up and put it under Japanese. So if I do these things, if I do this one, that's a pivot table. Does that make sense? Pivot tables aren't something to worry about. I just want to show you a different use of the case statement. So you can absolutely do something like this. And it can even be, instead of that, you can do, because this is from film. That would get complicated. I don't want to try to write that query, but so this is just not, you can have 3 case statements in one query to do whatever you want with to get the results.
So those numbers are the position of the row. Is that the idea?
So this is, so in the language ID, in the language table, 1 is English, 2 is Italian, and 3 is Japanese.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
here, select name, count of language from film on language ID. So this is doing this work the same way. So
Okay,
this is
yeah.
just showing language ID. So when you do it this way, you have to know what these are. You could write it with an inner join so that where language, you could probably do this. I don't need to group by because I'm not doing this. Let me see if this works.
Just trying to understand. The case function is in another programming language is like the if function, right?
Yes.
It's almost the same.
Yes. It's like an if function.
Yeah, it's yes, a little bit different, but it's the same function.
Yep. Okay, you can't do this with an inner join. Oh no, I forgot from film. But yeah, absolutely. This is a variant on the if. Now, what do I want to say? There is an if function as well in this. There are if thens, and is it here? Is it in MySQL? Yeah, there are if functions here that do the other stuff, but that's like you can do like counts and stuff like that. Like you can do I forget how to declare a variable. I'm going to write this in Microsoft SQL Server, so in T-SQL. So I get to declare at a as an int. I can set at a equal to 1. I can say, oh, I can while at a is less than or equal to. Oh, while works, so it's less than or equal to 50. Begin. Set at a
Yeah,
equal
that's
to.
greater than or equal to.
Did I do that? I meant less. Sorry, less than. Yeah, I meant less than. Sorry, yes, because that would end right away. At a +1. And so you can do loops with your while loops. You can do while loops, and then you can do if then statements as well. So all that stuff still exists there, but cases specifically on a select statement to modify the data before it comes out. So it's like an if statement, but it's more specialized. Let me finish
Yeah,
what I was doing
I
here.
found that in C, the programming language C,
Yeah.
they use switch case. You start like the function with the word switch,
Mm-hmm.
and then you create some cases, and it is almost the same.
Yep.
But you need to add a switch word before.
Yeah. Yeah. So in C you have similar stuff. Yeah. I often wonder if T-SQL took it from C or C took it from T-SQL. I think SQL took it from C. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for language. Oop, language. There we are. Language. There we are. Columns. What name? Let's see if this works. I don't know if this is gonna work. Where L.name.
Now, did you say we're gonna go over cases later in the?
Yes. Yeah. It'll be. I think week 9 talks about case statements.
Because there was one on the quiz this week.
Week 7 talks about case statements.
I can't remember it in the training. I had to go look it up. So,
I thought it did. I thought it was until week after next. But I may be. I mean, my memory might be going. So
I don't remember it in the training either, actually, and I didn't get that question in my quiz, but obviously it's pulled from like a thing of 30 questions, I think. It's not the same questions for everybody.
oh, that worked. Okay. Yeah. So I can use. I can do the same query here by joining the tables and then using the text for that. So that works as well. But
it's
yeah,
about
I thought. Yeah, I thought.
it's about a 20-line query with 3 case statements in it.
Hmm?
The quiz has a question in there about it, and it's 30-line, 20-line, 25 lines of 3 case statements. Says, is this what it would generate?
Let me see what that is. I'm curious. Let me. I stopped sharing because I got to go into the secret faculty part of this. Let's see. Quizzes, modules. Oh yeah. So no. So this week is. Oh yeah. So I guess it does. It may fall in with group by statements because this is the week. This is actually the week we talk about group and aggregates. So week 7, we talked about this in week 3, and this is where you're talking about it now. Subqueries next week. Joins are revisited the week after that. Conditional logic. Oh yeah, it's week 10 that they really talk about it because that's conditional logic. Week 11 is transactions, and week 12 is indexes, and week 13 is use. Huh.
Well, we're on the subject. I got a question that said aggregate functions perform a specific operation over all rows in a query. And I answered false. The correct answer was true. It was just a tricky question because in the book it says the exact same thing, except instead of saying all rows in a query, it says all rows in a set.
Yeah. Yeah. Ping me and I'll give you credit for that one.
Oh, okay.
I don't like trick questions. I'm looking through all the questions from the quizzes. I'm not seeing one with a group by edit.
I can show it to you if you want,
Let's see.
or not group by case.
Oh, case, sorry. Let me see, case. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's a, yeah, that question was more for the roll-up clause than it was for the, because that was the one that used roll-up.
Yeah.
It's funny,
It was a fun question to figure out.
yeah, that's an evil question. I just, this is, let me share screens. Share my screen back here. Yeah, here's the
Okay.
question. Yeah, this is the question here. And all they care about here is the roll-up clause. They threw this in there just to be mean, because they don't talk this until week 10.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but here, I mean, look at this. Look at the clause here. You're doing a case statement when concat last name and first name is null, and rating is null. Then do a total. When so you get 2. So when last name is null and rating is null, then call this total. When rating is null, then call it subtotal, and then else rating. And that's where. And the reason they did that is because of the roll up. Because this is actually doing, if you run this query, it gives you a very interesting result. You just have to go all this nonsense, a lot of errors out of there, but it does all this is the result. So yeah, it's evil to have a, no one's talked about this yet. So you're like, what is this even going to do? Yeah. What was the question? The following, is there a question involved here? I don't know what the question was.
Oh, it's true or false.
Oh, true or false. Oh, yeah. A lot of these, when you get these true or false questions, just run the query.
Yeah.
Yeah, just bring it over there and see if that's the actual result. Because this is written of all, this is all written off Sakilla. So
Yeah, there were a couple of questions that you had to change a preference of, what was it?
the following command lets you filter aggregate results. The Guillemette. What is? Why? Oh, yeah, use a fancy word.
I use
Yeah.
Google a lot during the
Yeah.
quizzes.
Data is seldom stored at the lowest level of granularity. What does that even mean? I don't even. What does that question mean? Data is seldom stored at the lowest level of granularity. Delete that question. A stupid question.
You can get that one. Which one was it?
Look at me live editing the questions. I'll
So
tell you
the
what
one,
it is. So one
let's
of the
see,
people, one of these days, someone's gonna watch me do this and get mad at me.
I worked for our tech center for a bit, and I've always wanted to do that.
Delete questions.
Yeah, I had the like teacher view,
Yeah.
and so I could like look into quizzes and that sort of thing. Most of the time we were just looking to see why people couldn't get either into their quizzes or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like something was coded wrong in the quiz, and so it didn't allow them to do certain things.
Right.
And so we'd have to tell them what to tell their teacher. Anyway, I've always seen like the delete button, and it's like, oh, that's so tempting, you know.
The only problem is because I don't have master rights, I just delete it from my course.
Yeah.
And not from the master. So I need them to give me master rights so I can delete from everything and get rid of some of these really, because every week, every year every semester I gotta go and delete the same questions over again, like the week 6 VI editor questions.
I might have been able to answer them.
Huh?
I might have been able to answer those. We used to use VI.
Oh, really? Yeah, maybe, but like, they're not in the reading anywhere.
No.
Single column grouping is the simplest, most often used type of grouping. Yeah, that's fine. Aggregate functions can work with columns and expressions as arguments. Yep. Aggregate functions take only columns as arguments. That's not true. Fine.
You have to wait to take the quiz till after our video.
Well, this is a rare one. I don't normally do this. This should say, hang on a second. There you go. Change it to that. How do you like that? There's a lot of things you can do that you just simply should not do. You can do all sorts of crazy things with aggregates, but don't do them. It's you know, the one thing out of Jurassic Park was we spent all these times asking if we could. We never asked the question, is this something we should? Yeah, you can do all sorts of ridiculous things in queries. It's just a lot of it's a bad idea. Because it just causes you grief later on. Anyway, we'll just close this out. Okay, now on to my realization about how to. So there were questions this week about joining a table to itself. Why would you do this? Well, I used to go to this huge conversation about dog breeding, and I would create a database about dog breeding and have like the parentage done this, and it was a giant pain in the butt database to write, and I hated doing it. And then I was talking to someone this week, and we were talking about Pokemon. And Pokemon require the table to join to itself. Because anyone here who doesn't know about Pokemon, it's a game where little tiny Pokemons evolve into other Pokemons. But it's a one-way evolution. It's a one-to-one. So here I have a table called Pokemon. I've got the Pokemon ID, the name, the Pokédex number, a description, whether it evolves or not, and then what it evolves into. And this evolves into foreign keys back to the Pokédex number. So I've got a foreign key where this refers back to that. Okay. Because I could theoretically put into a different table and have a two column, like a Pokemon evolves, and have two foreign keys and have that go down. But in this case, for something simple like this, I can just have the table refer to itself. Now, the only problem with this is I have the code over here. So let's look at this code. So here, nope, that's it. Where'd my code? Oh, did I? No, there it is. Okay. So I have this here. I've got inserted Pokemon name, Pokédex evolves, evolution. I've got Bulbasaur. It's Pokédex number 1. It doesn't evolve, and I decided if it doesn't evolve, I put a 0 in what the evolution is. I've got Ivysaur. It evolves. It's Pokédex number 2. It evolves and evolves from number 1. I've got Venusaur. It's Pokemon number 3. It evolves and evolves from Pokemon number 2. Is the Pokemon thing confusing people? Do I need to get some visual stuff for you?
I get it.
No. My one thing, it looks like you have evolution spelled wrong.
I do, and I proliferated
Okay.
that because I was too lazy to go back and change it.
Okay, fair
Absolutely.
enough.
I did do that. Good catch. If we had extra points, I would call you on that, but I realized that was right in the insert code. I'm like, I'm not going to go back and fix this now. Because this isn't a professional thing. This is just me showing stuff. So here, if I do my select from Pokemon, that's not what I wanted to do. If I do that, I get no. There. Oh, why am I? Oh, because I'm a Sakilla. Okay. I'm in Pokemon now. So I do my select from Pokemon. I get Bulbasaur, number 1, I didn't do descriptions, evolves, evolution, blah, blah, blah. So if I do this, let's say I've got to join. I've got select A name, B name as evolves to Pokemon A, enter join Pokemon B on A Pokédex equals B evolution. So I'm joining from here to here. So from here to here. There's another thing, right? And if I run this, it'll show me that Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur, and Ivysaur evolves into Venusaur. If I reverse it and do from B to A, from B Pokédex to A, I do evolves from. So run that. Bulbasaur I gotta reverse this around, but Bulbasaur evolves from Ivysaur. Let me just do this here real quick so it's done right. I forgot to change that. I was literally writing this at like 9:30 when this call started. So Ivysaur evolves from Bulbasaur and Venusaur evolves from Ivysaur. Right? Now, the only problem with this is, let me do this real quick here. And I'm gonna do this one from memory, because let's see. Next was Charmander. And he is Pokemon number 4, and he doesn't evolve. And after Charmander is, oh, I don't remember. I'm gonna just have to look.
Charmeleon.
Thank you, Charmeleon, because then it's Charizard.
Yep.
But I'm gonna do this in separate. I'm gonna do this in separate insert statements because I need to make a point. Okay. And then I'm gonna get this one last guy here. I'll put this code in the bottom there. And I was like, why does it have a Pokemon? What's this guy do in these meetings? What is wrong with him? Okay. So I got Charmander, then I got Charmeleon. That may or may not be, so I don't know. 5, it evolves from 4. And then we got Charizard. And it is Pokemon number 6. It evolves from 5. Now, if I try to run this one first, it should not have let me do that. Okay, it was supposed to fail because the foreign key, because that number doesn't exist yet. So what was, oh, great. What was supposed to happen? Oh, it's right here. So, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so this is supposed to evolve back to here, right? And it's foreign keyed. So I should not be allowed to put into this table unless it exists here. So my foreign key is not active, which is fine. I was trying to prove that point, but it just didn't work. That's okay. I'm not mad at it. But generally speaking, that wouldn't have worked. But now this is gonna be all out of order, which is fine. So I'll put this in there, which should also fail, but it's not going to. And then I'll put this one in here. And if I do select my Pokemons. So I got Pokédex number 4 here. It doesn't evolve, but I've got all these other guys here where I got the evolutions that evolves from that. That evolves from that. So if I do my queries here, why aren't you? Yeah, so now, yeah. But yeah, so this to me was if you understand Pokemon, it made more sense to do this with the table joining itself. It made way more sense than the oh, that's backwards. That's backwards. Charmeleon does not. Charmander evolves. I got the data wrong. I'll fix it later. But Charmander. Charmeleon. I wonder why that's backwards. Oh,
You
that's
are
fine.
using the B to A instead
Oh,
of the A
no,
to B. Is that the issue?
No, I got the A to B. I got A to B.
I think
Oh.
when you were doing the first part, you accidentally went up to the top one when you edited which one the A
Oh.
and B were.
Possibly.
But I
Yeah.
think it's backwards.
Ah, yeah. She put point. Yes. Thank you. A to B. Oh, yeah. Yes. I see what you're talking about. Yeah, I did that. I goofed up there. There we are. There we are. That's why you never do coding live. There we are. Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard. Yep. Okay. And I gotta fix here. B to A. There we are. Okay. Okay. Yep. So for this, does it make sense why you join a table to itself now?
Yes.
Yeah. The reason to do it are few and far between, but it can be done and it can be done effectively. I'm just a little bummed that this foreign key didn't lock things out. Let's double check why that happened. Because foreign keys, generally speaking, when you have a foreign key, it should stop you and put it into the one table if it doesn't exist already. So I can't, if it doesn't exist in here, I can't put it in here yet. So I just got to figure out why that didn't work. But I did this like in 7.5 minutes when I suddenly realized I hadn't done it yet. So, but anyway, all right. That is what I had for today. Next week is just going to be workshopping ERDs. Maybe talking about a little code. I'll review the lesson, see if there's any code that we haven't touched or talked about. But I think at this point in time, I've covered everything code-wise that exists in the course, plus a half dozen or 2 dozen things that aren't covered in the course. So, any questions?
Seems fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Play with those case statements. They're a lot of fun to play with. Hey, Talina, you just jumped in. Is there I was just about to close up. Do you have any specific questions?
Yeah, sorry, I just got off work. I was
Sure.
I was gonna ask if you can aggregate an aggregated function, if that makes sense.
Can you aggregate an aggregate function? So like do the
Yeah.
sum, like do the average of a sum?
Yeah,
Yes, you can.
okay,
And so we were talking about this before. In Jurassic Park, this line, we were so busy wondering if we could do it, we didn't ask ourselves if we should do it.
yeah,
There's a lot of things in coding that you can do that you think like, wow, this makes sense, and then when you do it, it gives you some kind of bizarre result. But you can
Okay.
you can nest any function within any other function that you want.
all right,
So you can have a sum and then do an average of the sum and do what you want. Like I had that one query from last week that was like, let me pull that up real quick. Like here, where is it? Where I was like I'm sandwiching, I'm putting floor and then rand and all this other stuff into that. So you can do it. And I encourage playing with things, but just realize that it's going to give you headaches sometimes to do it.
okay, yeah. I was playing around with it, but it wasn't really doing anything
Yeah.
that made sense. Okay,
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's pretty good about it. If you do something it's not allowed to do, it'll complain. It'll throw an error
Okay.
saying,
Yeah.
like sometimes I wish I could go in and do custom errors in my in T-SQL and like, have like the error, like, what do you think you're doing? It's like, it's just that's the error.
Yeah.
But they don't there is, so sidebar. If you're familiar with the .NET framework that Microsoft put out about 20 years ago, it's 20 years ago now. My gosh, 20 years ago, Microsoft put out something called the .NET framework. And if you get really, really familiar with that, you can actually develop your own coding language in the .NET framework.
Oh, okay, that's
So
fascinating.
you could do a Klingon programming language and have all the commands and do everything you want and do all your. It's a lot of work. I looked into it once. It's just really not worth it to do.
Yeah.
But you can do it.
Okay.
So I don't know why I brought that up. I was just thinking about really forcing error
Yeah.
codes. I know when I was programming a lot, my error codes were probably more specific than people really cared to see them. Like you
Yeah.
shouldn't have touched that key. But anyway, yeah, you can play with that stuff. Yeah, you can nest pretty much anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can
I must have just.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I just must have been doing something. I think I figured out why I was getting the errors once I solved a different problem. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, sure.
I do have
Absolutely.
another question that
Sure,
might be
hit.
really stupid.
Go ahead.
So like this, so on these Zoom meetings, you've been showing your screen and it's got like the boxes with the arrows connecting.
Yeah.
How do I get to that like tab workbench?
Oh, sure. So you go here to file. You go
File?
to new model.
New model? Okay.
And I'll save that.
Oh.
And then this opens up here for you. And then you click to add diagram.
Oh.
And then you can go here and say create a table.
Okay. That's cool. Because I've just been using it with like the shell thing.
Yeah.
So,
But if
okay.
if you're choosing to do the final project, this is where you want to do it. You design everything here, and then you go to over here into database, and then go to forward engineer, and it writes the code for you.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I've never used MySQL before this class, so this is.
It's like the tricycle of database engines.
Okay.
If you get good with this, you can jump into, I think the next logical step for this is Microsoft SQL Server. And then
Okay.
Oracle, because Oracle's really weird the way it does stuff. I'm not going to get into it, but Oracle's very strange the way it does things. It's
Okay.
extremely granular. But anyway, that wasn't a stupid question, by the way.
right.
Yeah, if it's yeah, well, I have to say the only stupid question is the one you asked like 18 times. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking my questions. Sorry I'm late. I just got off work and thought maybe there'd be like 5 minutes I could just see. So yeah.
never and I'll just say for anyone at home who's watching and it's Wednesday afternoon and you've got some free time you're watching, if you need a video conference with me, just give me a date and time that's good for you and we'll make it work. As a matter of fact, in week 13, there's 1 or 2 days where I just leave my Zoom running the entire day
Okay.
and people pop in because that's when people are panicking to get their projects done.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll have Zoom open the entire day so people can just pop in and say hi. Because all I do is sit in front of a computer all day and I might as well just keep it open.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
alright. Not a problem. Any other
Awesome.
questions?
I have a comment. I just wanted to say thank you for doing the YouTube videos. I recently got a calling to Teachers Quorum Advisor, and so I've been having to go to Mutual and all that, and so it's been really nice to come back and be able to watch the videos.
Yeah, and that's where I am before this. I am first counsel in the bishopric, so I am the teachers quorum guy with my advisors. They wanted to have a Nerf war tonight, so they brought all their Nerf guns, but no one brought any bullets.
Ah, yeah.
So it was the worst planned war in a number of years that I've seen. So I'm like, okay, what's your plan B? So,
Basketball.
but I see basketball. Basketball is too much of a LDS activity. Basketball is like plan Z. You know, picking up trash outside comes before playing basketball. So they end up playing soccer.
Gotcha.
Indoor soccer
Yeah.
is fine. It's just we have a propensity as a church to it's like basketball is like the sanctioned sport of the church. So
Yeah, my
So
guys
that's-
had a stake activity tonight, so I was able to come and join.
nice.
Yeah.
Stake activities are good. Stake activities are good. And it's good too being because we got the advisors. Usually we try to get the boys to run everything themselves.
Mhm.
And so I can like take a step back because I'm also in charge of facilities. So if something's broken, Wednesday night is when I fix it. So it's wonderful to have many hats. But yeah, I'm glad you're watching the videos on Wednesday. Not everyone does. I had someone ask me a question today. I put like last week I put the requirements for the final project. And I've said in the videos, these are the requirements. Don't look at the other ones because they're lies. These are what I want because I'm grading it. And someone asked me which ones were they looked at the comments of the video and asked me which ones were the right ones. I'm like, so, but I like that. I feel everyone gets a lot out of the videos when you watch them. So, but like I said, like with Selena, like pop in the last few seconds there. If you need a one-on-one with me, just let me know when. Just and do me a favor, give me a date and a time. Say, can you meet Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time? And I will say yes or no. Don't say, can I meet this week? Because I'll say when it's good for you because my schedule, like I'm over on this computer over here during the day, and this one over here is the one I use for this. So I can do this at any point in the day without it too much of a problem. I don't know when y'all are available, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah, normally I'm free right now, but I just picked up a shift and didn't really think about it. Yeah, I do live up in the mountains though, so the whole time difference thing gets to me sometimes.
Where are
So
you
I have
at?
to- I'm in Idaho. Here in
Oh, okay.
Boise. Yeah.
Yeah, that's out there. You're 3 hours. You're only 3 hours behind me though, or ahead of me, right? So
Yeah.
I'm 3 hours. I'm 3 hours in the future. Everything's
Yeah.
fine. When it hits 10:30, everything's still fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 8:30-ish right now, so
Every my two of my boys live in Utah, and every New Year's Eve I call them and said, "Hey, I'm calling you from next year. Everything's fine." You're gonna make it. Not a problem. And
Nice.
I will close with this because it's time for me to go. But I used to have this book that said everything I ever learned, I learned from Snoopy. And one of his sayings was like, never worry about the world ending tomorrow because it's already tomorrow in Australia. So on that, thank you guys for being here. Keep in touch, let me know I can help you, and I'll see you next week.
Will
Thanks,
do.
Brother Stemick.
Have a good one.
Thank you. See
too.
ya.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Wait, how do I?